yeah, this campaign worked really well. It attracted all my most perfect clients. No, it didn't. Okay? Facebook ads don't create great clients. Your discovery calls do. Hey, difference makers, welcome back to the Difference Maker Revolution podcast. And today we are joined by Ronan, Steve, Janine, and Jonathan. So we only have like 20 minutes because Janine has to go for actually photograph or for an experience, right?
I do indeed.
So we'll be quick. Did you hear that, Ronan and Steve? Janine and I were on a meeting this week with the team. Record meeting, 5 minutes.
It was fantastic. Like the 10-minute meeting, we did it in 5.
We did it in 5 minutes. And Janine, do you know the two people that weren't on that particular meeting?
The two people below
Alan and Ronan, probably.
All right. So this week on Inner Circle, and I know this podcast gets released many weeks later, but we had a coaching call on Facebook ads, one of my favorite topics, and we talked about how to analyze the performance of your Facebook ads. And I thought it'd be really good to, because Janine, you're going through this at the moment with a particular campaign. I thought it'd be good to kind of understand like some of the key mindset principles behind ads and understand how you go about looking at the performance of your marketing campaigns. Because for me, I see this big thing out there, and we had this last night on our Q&A, where it's like, yeah, this campaign worked really well. It attracted all my most perfect clients. No, it didn't. Okay? Facebook ads don't create great clients. Your discovery calls do. So when it comes to your Facebook ads, the purpose of your Facebook ads, purpose of any marketing you do, is to put yourself out there in the world and to speak to someone who's a reflection of your ideal client, with the aim of turning them into a potential client, which is basically a lead or an inquiry. They fill out a form. That's the goal. You're not creating quality clients. You're not finding quality clients with your ads. You're not magically using your ad to turn, people who are completely unaware you exist into clients that spend thousands. That happens on the phone. So let's talk ads. Let's talk, what's the purpose of ads, Janine?
The purpose of an ad is to make yourself aware to somebody who didn't know you were there before.
Right. So you don't expect that with your ad, when you put up a Facebook ad, that if 100 people see it, 100 people are going to say, yes, I'm going to click this link. I'm going to book myself in. I'm going to turn up without ever speaking to someone. I'm going to spend $10,000 on wallet and treasure boxes.
I was thinking like 99 out of 100. Is that not right either?
Right, okay.
No, Jonathan, that's not what I'm expecting. No, it is an awareness, right? And so all it is for people to put up their hand. They're going to see it. It's going to make them think, oh, I hadn't thought about that before. I'm interested in that. They're going to raise their hand by filling out a form. And now it comes to us. And that is where we come in the way we contact them, the way we relate to them, the way we have our phone calls with them. And sometimes that phone call starts with texting, right? Like it's not always 100% going to start with a phone call. And so sometimes you have to build that trust factor and you have to meet people where they're at. So it sometimes can be a text conversation until you get to the phone call, but it's still all on us. Like we have to nurture, we have to build that relationship. We have to find the client's emotions. We have to give them the emotional reason to purchase, and make that connection with the client. Still want to do it 99 out of 100 times, though.
So we're going to go through the process of analyzing a campaign because Steve missed this. So we're going to give Steve the lowdown, right? So on Wednesday's coaching call, right? So a lot of the times we find with members is, let's pretend they're running a Facebook ad campaign to generate leads. And if something's not going right, the first thing they do is jump straight into Facebook Ads Manager and say, what's wrong with my ad? But that is not step one when you analyze a campaign. You always begin with the end in mind. So step one, when you're analyzing your campaign, and we talked about this is what you do, Janine. Step one is you ask the question, am I getting bookings? That's step one.
Yeah, because we start with the end in mind. And so, and it's two different things, right? Because depending on how you answer that question, changes so much, which is why I love that you picked that out. It is actually what we do. And I didn't realize why we did it until like you and I were like kind of talking about it. But to me, it made logical sense. Like, why would I start with the other side of the flow chart, right? Like to me, am I getting bookings? I know my cost to do business. I know what it takes to run the studio per hour. I know all of my numbers. And so I know that if things fluctuate a little bit, $10 here to book, $10 there to book, it doesn't affect me because I know what my average is. And I know if I can just book more sessions, then we're good, right? Because I know where we're at. So I don't care if my cost per booking is $10 higher today than it was yesterday because where our average order value is. So as long as I'm getting bookings and the costs are in line, I'm happy. And I'll spend more money on the ads to get more bookings, right? Now, if I am getting a ton of leads, like 100 leads.
Oh, no. Skipping steps. Don't skip
Yes or
steps.
no, starting with the bookings. I'm not happy if I don't get the bookings. I'm not.
Okay. You're not getting bookings, right? What do we go to next? We don't go to Facebook. Remember?
I didn't
Step
go
2.
to Facebook yet. I'm still
Okay.
going to answer your question. Let me answer your question.
Okay.
You said, so no, if I'm not getting bookings, I'm not happy, right?
Yes.
Because it doesn't matter how many leads I have. If I can't convert them and I'm not booking them, I am not happy and I am going to look at why.
Right. So you're not getting bookings. So the next step that you go to, you jump straight to Facebook, right?
Absolutely.
Absolutely not. So the second question you ask is, am I having conversations?
Correct.
Step 2 is conversations.
Step 2
right.
is conversation.
Break it down for us.
So
yes or no?
Yes or no, right? So am I having conversations? It's going to break down into 2 things. Yes, I'm having conversations, or no, I'm not, right? So yes, are these people excited to talk to me? Am I getting them on the phone in 1 or 2 calls? Am I prompting them to schedule a call with a text? Like the different ways that you can do this. Are the conversations happening? Yes. And you're not getting bookings? That's something else we got to look at. No. Well, then you need to look at why. Right. So this is the next big thing is, are you having conversations? Yes or no?
So what if you're having conversations, but let's say that, let's introduce a term. So the term that we introduced was booking rate, right? So booking rate means, let's pretend that you get 100 leads and you book 15, then your booking rate is 15% from lead to booking. Okay. So, Janine, your booking rate, you're outperforming on the booking rate for your first birthday. It's 30%. Normally with Facebook ads, we see between 15 and 25%. But for this particular campaign, it was 4.2%. Right. So you identified you were getting bookings, but your cost per booking was high. You identified you were having conversations, right? But your booking rate was low. So what was the strategy? What was the next plan? Was the next plan to start listening to some of the calls?
You answered the question. Yes, of course.
Oh, sorry. Oops.
Yeah, when you're having conversations and you're not booking, then you need to listen to your conversations and find out why, and find out what's the cause, what's causing people to get stuck in that stage of your pipeline. Why are they in conversation but they're not booking, and what's happening there?
So, Steve, I think you should come in here, and because you're the maestro for calls, but listening back to calls, what should we be considering listening back to calls?
When I'm listening back to calls, the first thing I'm listening for is, are we assuming that the client is interested, and are we assuming that the clients want to book? Because I hear in a lot of calls where people are struggling to book people, the subliminal language and the subliminal assumptions that are coming across, it's questioning whether somebody's interested, questioning whether, I think they're trying to question whether they're the right fit, but it comes across as almost negative to the client. And yes, we have to work out whether people are the right fit, but our language can't almost dismiss somebody. And a lot of the times what I'm hearing in a call is a lack of that assumption that people are excited about this and want to do this. I think I don't know whether this answers your question, but this made a big difference to a few people that I've spoken to. Are you talking to a lead, or are you talking to a potential client? And I think a lot of people are trying to get through their leads. And the problem is that the problem is you, Jono, right? Because you get people an abundance of leads. Okay. And when there is an abundance, there is wastage and leakage, right? And so rather than focusing on exciting people so much that they want a book, people get into the habit of just getting through the leads. And I've had this conversation with a few people, and I spoke to somebody last week actually, and she said to me, "That's exactly what I'm doing. I'm overwhelmed with the number of leads. I'm just getting through the leads. I'm just going to focus on exciting people and not worry about how many people I've called, but really treating each one as valuable." And she made 30 bookings in just over a week, as opposed to no bookings for over 2 weeks before that. And so the mindset of assuming they want to book, the mindset of this not being a bunch of leads that I need to get through and valuing each one completely changed that. And you got to understand, there's a lot happening on Facebook. And I'm old school, so I equate it to, I used to tell my team, look, we're in a shopping center. There's 300 stores in this shopping center. When you walk into a shopping center, how many do you remember? You walk in the door, how many stores do you actually remember? You only remember 3 or 4 maybe, and you only remember the ones that are relevant to you at that present time. And Facebook's the same. Okay? They're scrolling, and for some reason, something's happening in their life. And that caused them to stop. And that caused them to put up the hand. And it's our job to find out what that is.
There you go. So wanted to get that in. It's such a critical part of it,
And you need to believe that there's a reason why they stopped. There's a reason why somebody noticed you. It's never what we think it is. And we need to treat every single person as though they're already a client. So when we switch our language from a lead to a potential client and treating these people like they're already clients and assuming that they are going to be a client, everything changes. And so then that conversion rate explodes. I don't know what that does to your numbers, but...
Well, it's actually really interesting because slightly off topic, but on topic. So last night I was watching a video, and it's a video of watch videos on YouTube golfers. So they're not professional golfers. They're like YouTube golfers who make video. They're like really good golfers, like scratch handicappers and stuff. Anyway, for this particular video, he played 9 holes, and he played the best 9 holes of his life. He shot 3 under, which is very, very good. But for the video, he got an expert caddy who caddies on the PGA Tour in to guide him. And the bit that resonates about you talking about the phone calls was the caddy was saying, right, what you need to do, he said, the words you speak to yourself and your commitment to the shot is critical. So this guy changed nothing about how he hits a golf ball, his technique or anything. What he changed was the words he was speaking before the shot, picking a target line, and then committing to hitting that shot. So he wasn't thinking, oh, I must hit a good shot. I must avoid the water on the left. I must avoid the sand on the right. I must avoid whatever. It's like, okay, that's my target. My target's that tree. I'm going to commit 110% to this shot, and I'm going to hit it at that tree.
It's funny you should say that, Jono, because when I'm listening to calls, and it's probably getting a little bit more on topic, I'm actually hearing what people are afraid of. Like they're mentioning those things that they're afraid of, that the clients are not going to spend, or whether they're going to be the right client. And so, when you're talking about, I got to miss that psychology of missing the tree, missing the lake, missing whatever. People are actually sort of mentioning it in the calls. And I think I'm a strong believer that you can't not think about what you're not supposed to think about without thinking about it. And if it's that so far top of mind in your belief that you're worried that this client's going to be a vulture, this client's going to be the wrong client, this client's not going to be the right client for me, and it's coming out in the language and in the tonality of what you're saying, then people are going to struggle. To add to that last story where the client booked 30 bookings, some of those bookings came from calling people that she didn't book the first time with that previous mindset of, I've got to get through the leads. And so those people that she didn't book and she had discarded, I encouraged her to call them again. And now she's calling them with a different mindset. And so when I hear people say, this ad's not getting me quality leads, is it the ad or is it your mindset that is not creating quality leads? Because her mindset was that nobody picks up the phone, nobody's booking. These are crappy leads. These are not the right clients for me. And yet, when she called the same people with a different mindset, she got a different result.
Imagine.
Hard to believe, isn't it? But you can hear it in the language. Is not assuming. When somebody's nosediving, you listen to the calls, and it's there. They're not assuming that they want to book. They're not excited for the client. The assumption is that they're not going to book, and so that's what happens.
So, can I just ask a question here on something? And this question is for Janine first, and then everyone else. So Janine, you mentioned 2 different booking rates, or Jonathan mentioned 2 different booking rates, right? And the booking rate of 4.2% was on a new avatar, right? That you and your team don't have a lot of experience yet in serving those clients, right? So the clients that you're used to serving, this is a new client to some degree, right? You have some experience, but it's not. Your whole team is not unconsciously competent yet in dealing with that client, right? What role do you think that has had when you analyze the bookings rate for these clients versus the evergreen client that you get in every single day and have 10 experiences a week, for different clients? Did that have any role in your analysis?
It's a really good question, Ronan, and yes. Because we talk about the exposure, right? And this is why I do believe in the volume of sessions, because the more, and Steve and I have talked about this, the more conversations you have, you learn to anticipate what people are going to ask. You learn the right questions to ask. You learn how to answer objections. You have so much more exposure. And so now this is new. It's new questions, new objections, new problems that people have. Putting in a sense of urgency that's not naturally there by our current evergreen campaign is directed by a date of a birthday, right? So you have that natural sense of urgency that they're used to discussing on the phone, right? And so there's no accepting of we can do it later. No, you can't do it later. Your birthday's in a week, right? So there's a lot of that. And so yes, that was part of it. In the analysis was that the training on the phone needs to be more because of it's not used to dealing with that ideal client, that client avatar yet, with the possible things that come up in the conversations. So to answer your question, yes, it was something noticed.
So the key thing I'm hearing from you and everybody is that you didn't go, like we hear often, and say, Facebook has just given me crap leads.
No.
People who have no interest in doing business.
It's still not even part of my thought process. Not even part of my thought process. Even when, obviously listening to the calls, we've had some people not from here. Clearly, we always have that happen. We've had some that are not the ideal client that we wrote this for is a specific type of grandparent with a specific number of grandkids, like whatever. And we've had some that we've talked to that have kids scattered all over the world, right? And so that obviously is going to be a more difficult client to book in because they can't get everybody together. But that's where training the team to focus on a singular relationship with that grandparent and a singular grandchild, the one that lives here, right? And so this is the training and this is the exposure and learning, because you know how it is, and everybody can relate to this. How many times do you have a conversation with somebody and 10 minutes after you hang up the phone, I should have said this. Right? I mean, we all do that even when we're talking with our family. Ugh, why didn't I just say that? And so...
Could you pick up the phone and call them and say it?
Yeah, right?
Like I've done that. I've gone, and then I have picked up the phone and
call
said,
the person back. I'm like, I just thought of this. So that, yes. And so even though we've gotten responses to the ads, that is not what we thought. It's not I'm happy these people are reaching out, right? To me, I'm happy that they have connected with our ad enough to be interested in the first place to respond. And now it's up to us to figure out how to connect with them. Are we always going to have a handful of people who, no matter what, just cannot afford it, even after we talk? Of course. But again, that's not Facebook. That's just the law of averages. That's just numbers. So it's still not, the thought of it's Facebook's problem is not entered my mind. It's our problem and we have to fix it.
But this is exciting because this is how avatars are evolving, Janine. So all I'm hearing as you're saying all of this is that, maybe there are, instead of one avatar, there are multiple avatars that this is attracting. And that whole, what you're really doing is you're refining who that avatar really is, and you're going to get better and better at it. And I think if you sat down with your team and got them involved in refining this avatar, you're going to get, consistently better and better results. It's exciting.
It is exciting. And the number of leads that we're getting, and I'm going to have to go to a client here now. So I'll let the rest of you guys continue talking about me while I'm not here. But
we're in the real world, Janine. You
got to get real world. I know. But it is. And I love the idea. And I think that's the mindset that the three of you can continue on the rest of this podcast to get through the minds of our listeners. Is that the mindset, so many times, I think it's so easy to blame an outside force, and the outside force being Facebook, instead of looking inward and looking to your team and looking to yourself and what can you do, and be excited with the leads that you have and figure out these potential clients. If you can't convert them now, what can you do to convert them in the future, and never give up. And Steve taught me that. Never give up on a potential client. Never give up on them. And so, I will leave you guys with that and have fun. Enjoy the rest of the podcast.
You have fun. Before we get to that, we're finishing these 3 steps, right? Because otherwise we won't finish them. So go excite that client. So step 2 is conversation. So we asked the question, am I having conversations? And Janine answered yes, but her booking rate was lower. So now she's listening back to the calls. But what happens if you're not having conversations, right? So you look at the result, you say, I'm not having conversations. Okay. So are you following the system from earning the conversation that we teach in the inner circle? So like Steve and Janine teach, are you testing, varying your call times? Are you calling 4 times in the first 3 days? Are you sending your texts, sending your emails? Are you analyzing your pipeline to see where people are getting stuck? So Janine did this exercise for this campaign and realized that while she was having conversations, there were still loads more people that they hadn't had a conversation with than they normally would, right? So she looked at her pipeline and analyzed, okay, where were they getting stuck? And she made some tweaks and she started sending some nudge texts and nudge emails and implementing different strategies straight away to turn those potential clients into conversations. And then another key thing, and Steve spoke to this with the mindset piece a little bit, is there something personal stopping me from picking up the phone? You see that a lot, Steve, right?
Well, this is where we hide behind retouching or putting other things, distracting things. And, we start to hide and start to make excuses as to why I don't have time to pick up the phone and do everything else but pick up the phone. This is where people struggle. you need to make that a priority. I think sometimes too, with what you were saying, check the language, because sometimes the language isn't resonating. So even though you've sent a text, is it resonating really with your avatar? And I've seen people sending messages and texts, and it's still that assumption that, not assuming that people are excited, not assuming that they're wanting to book. It's questioning, right? And that turns people off.
Yeah, absolutely. So finally, Steve, we can look at step 3, which is the leads. So am I getting leads is the next question you would ask. This is the only time you can look at Facebook. After you've gone through step 1 bookings, after you've gone step 2 conversations, step 3, you look at leads. So am I getting leads? Yes. Okay, how many leads so far? Potential clients, as we call them. Flip the mindset. And then what is your cost per lead, as Facebook calls it, or cost per potential client?
Can we add to that, Jono? Am I getting leads? When I was training a client, she was in Bath and she was telling me she wasn't getting leads, but she was getting leads, but she ignored any leads that weren't coming from her local area.
Right?
Okay, so in her mind, she wasn't getting leads, but there were leads coming from, I can't remember the name. It was a major town that, that you would get a train into London. And I said, but what about all of these leads? Oh, they're too far away. They're not really leads. Nobody's going to travel that far. And I said, okay, you're assuming, you're making that assumption that they won't travel that far. You're not giving those people the opportunity to have an incredible experience with you. And if you think it's more of a challenge for them to make the time and make the effort to come and see you, you need to excite them even more. So amp up the excitement, amp up the assumption. And given that you have nothing else to do, why not call them? You've got nothing to lose. She now targets that area because now she realizes that those clients end up being better clients than those people in her local area. And so sometimes, and we hear it all the time from people, they're complaining that, it's drawing people not on their doorstep, right? And that the assumption is people won't travel. And so, sometimes we're hearing I'm not getting any leads, but in reality, we've wiped a whole lot out. Because
of assumptions. That's a huge thing.
Our assumption that people won't travel. And they do. The people that, will travel 2-3 hours, spend the most because they've made that commitment.
But also that assumption that, this won't be a quality client. Like before they've even had a conversation. Seen that happen too. Because of XYZ reason. Their name begins with an S or an A. Oh no, they won't be a good client.
Well, we've heard people, Googling the area code and using Google Earth to look at their house to judge whether this is going to be a great client. And it's affecting, they're judging that person. And it's affecting how they're approaching them, their excitement, and whether they're going to call them or not. And, Alex has shared many stories where, he's gone to these homes where there's, you wouldn't even want to walk in and, there's no room for any wall art. The people are hoarders and he's had to do the design consult literally on their bed because there's no room. And he's selling thousands of dollars, and looking at it, you would not judge this. And we need to remember Mr. and Mrs. Average are our best clients. We're not looking for gravel driveways, white Audis, helicopters parked in the back. They're not going to be the ones that are consistently spending well with us, and people that we're going to make a difference with.
Ron, you look like you're ready to say something there.
I was going to say something, but I decided not to say it now. Maybe I should say it. So, what car do most millionaires drive in America?
Guess right. I'm going to say a red Ferrari. Go on.
No, it's a Toyota Camry, right? My second thing is, one of the richest men in the world, Warren Buffett, lives in the same house that he started out in 1956. He bought the house in 1956. He's a multi-billionaire, right? As Steve said, the people who have the helicopter out the back often are people who don't have any money at all. I'm not saying all of them. So it's just a really bad judgment of people and what people value and who is your client. If you solely make it about where someone lives and a car that they're driving, you're going to get this wrong.
It comes back to, what you resist persists. When Jono was talking about the golf course, when that guy's trying to miss the tree, miss the lake, miss the thing, I think, a lot of people are looking on, stalking their clients pretty much, looking for all the problems and all of the reasons why they're not going to be the right client. And the more you think about that, the more you're going to see it, and the more you're going to attract that. You're just going to keep hitting those golf balls into the lake if you're not seeing the path beyond that.
All right. So those are the 3 steps to make sure that you know how to analyze your Facebook campaign correctly. If you want to learn how to run very effective Facebook campaigns, then where you need to be is inside the Inner Circle. So click the link below, join the Inner Circle today. We can't wait to welcome you into a family of difference makers in the wellness sector. Like we discussed in the last podcast, photography as a business is dead. Rest in peace. Become a difference maker and thrive in the new world. Bye for now.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.